Good evening. This is the chart review for 4/16/2019. Um, Kind of a weak day in the market, mostly sideways for the most part. Um, I had originally looked at this and thought it was going to go up today, but somehow they found some weakness in the market. Um, with the big run up overnight, it was looking fairly strong. Um, Definitely thought it was going to come back and kind of kind of test just kind of across the tops right here and find support. Um, but the most recent volume node was right here, and so I kind of considered that like the line in the sand. The 2914 area was what I called out, and that was the tops right here, which I thought would hold things up. Kind of moving things around here, but it kind of traded down and kind of tested this area and traded sideways for quite a while. This is a bigger time frame, but if you look at it right here, you can see that it was really trying to kind of hold it. It was sitting on top of the volume node, basically trying to hold itself up. This is also, when you look at this run up, it's also where this kind of opposing support and resistance was. So I really kind of expected it to kind of hold right there, and it finally failed through and got weak. So it formed a volume node right here. It popped up. Basically, you can see that these two areas right here tested the bottom of this, finally broke through, tested the top of this volume node right here. And so this became a volume node itself. It broke down. It had already kind of tested with these two candles right here. The top of this node broke through, tested the other side. This guy came up, tested the bottom of this node, and fell away. They really held the market up here, gave it another push. And you can see it tested and tried to pull away again across the bottom, but made it up and kind of tested the other side of it. Again, fell off. This node's pretty messy. You can see the bottoms of kind of this candle right here, and the tops kind of leveled right there where it was testing kind of the top of that area, and then it bounced back up, falls down, gets really weak, comes all the way down, and it's basically at this point testing this volume node right here in the bottom of kind of this structure. It also had this structure right here and this structure right here, so you can see that it came down and tested it, and then somebody just dumped right here. You can see right here on the delta that a big seller came in and just kind of released just tons of shares, driving the delta down. So that was very heavy active selling that happened right there, and it just kind of forced and broke through everything. And if we look on the bigger chart, we can kind of see here that this bottom basically came into this higher little area of this volume node right here. And if you kind of try not to take too much of it right here, and if you look, kind of the top of this volume node is right here. It's very hard to see, I'm sorry. But the highest volume point is this orange line right here, and this blue line right across the top is right where the kind of the a big step happens right here in the volume. And when you look back over here, right? That's where it went to. It tested the top of kind of this node right here. Hard to see when you don't have a volume profile on there, but that's what it did right there. Is it tested the top of that. Generally, it gets a bounce, and it'll fall back through. That's what kind of makes this. I guess there's like a step, right? I don't have a good example that I can kind of find right here, but um, it's the higher low pattern that you kind of see, or a step, right? I'll find one at some point and show it to you, but that's basically what it did. Was it broke down and it finally found support there, and bounced off. And good buying opportunity, right? The longs jump back in with force in order to get this market up. They almost always buy in that last hour. That's a pretty regular pattern right now. I think there was a news article on Zero Hedge that basically showed just the candles of the last hour on the chart for like the last several months, and I think all but two of them were negative or something like that. They always almost come in and buy on the last hour, put the market back where it was pretty much on the day. You can kind of see that on the delta too, right? So if this green line right here is kind of zero, they basically bought back everything that they sold during the day, and ended the day just as neutral as can be. So that's pretty much algos for you, right? They'll sell all day long, and be more than happy to basically buy back all their shorts at the end of the day, put the market back to square one, right? When I came in, the first kind of swing was this guy right here, and he had pretty good symmetry, right? So the 50% line was right here on this top, and this swing pretty much came back right to the 50% mark, and held, and it held again, and then swung down. And what was disappointing was, it did make the next level down right here, but it just kind of never made it to the next pretty much 100% extension until way down here. So not a real good symmetry. But if you pull this over, you can see that the wave, right, that you got 50% marker right here, and you can see that it tried to do a pullback right on that 50% again, and that wave matched up perfectly with that one. So definitely, if I pull this over, you can see here's the 100% extension from this area down into this area right here. And if I pull this guy back over here, right, here's the 50%. It was pretty much, trying to be symmetrical today, but not the best. Not a lot of clues on it. But I tend to like to look at these because when you break out of a range, you usually get 100% extension on the range. So this was a range, and when it finally broke, you got 100% extension on that, right? And you'll see that pattern all over the place. These are measured moves. Trying to think of what else that I saw on the chart today. Wasn't a real good day. I mean, as far as the levels go, I mean, support and resistance is a zone, right? And so you're kind of looking like like a point each direction, right? It's more of a zone, not really a line, but I try and put the lines where the best location is. Um, but it just wasn't really hitting them. I mean, it was going beyond, but it just kind of came up short. So not exactly sure if it was just the low volume or just didn't seem to hit targets today. I still took trades and was doing fairly well with the seeing where the everything was, but as far as predictability or whatever, I didn't do a real good job. It doesn't seem like on the picks today, which is unusual. Usually the lines are really good as far as being hits, but and you can see that I captured pretty much zones right here, right? So even though this kind of fell through um, all the way, you can see that the tops of these candles and the bottom of these candles all fit in this pretty much this little trading zone, and this one right here captured it went through, but it captured pretty much the bottom of that zone. You can see that it pretty much traded at the line right here. Again, it tried to trade back and forth. Support and resistance zones are basically areas of where you're going to see action, and usually see trading on both sides of the line. Sometimes it just pulls up to the line and then goes, but like I said, there's zones, right? So they're going to go through the lines sometimes. Sometimes they're going to trade before the lines, but they tend to be the areas where you're going to get two-sided trading, where they're going to try and push the market back, but sometimes there's just too much momentum and it pushes through, or sometimes there's just not enough momentum, right? And it can't push it through. So they're averages. Not sure what else to give you, right? I think you can see, you got a zone right here, fell through. You got another zone right here, tested the bottom of this zone right here. This one fell through, tried to come up, right? This area was testing basically the bottom of this zone. So if you kind of start to attune your eye to all of these areas. So this is a big area right here, right? And this guy came up and tested this. You start to see the pattern after a while of where you don't really want to buy in the middle of this kind of stuff, right? It's tempting, but there's no structure here. There's nothing really holding you back. This little area just happened to kind of trade against this little area right here, which worked out, but the pullback was so minimal. It was so strong. When you see the delta start to take off and climb, especially when you get these big bars like this, they're really pumping things in. I mean, they were down 10,000 here, and by the time we kind of hit this area right here, right, this is probably like 5,000. They probably already bought back like half of that area, and then they just exploded to the upside. So when you have bigger delta bars, somebody's definitely pushing the market. They're selling aggressively and just overwhelming the limit orders. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I expect overnight that they're going to come in and start to pump this market up, but you got to realize that, like I said, that 2914 area was kind of a make or break kind of area for today for the strength and weakness, and now you're kind of under it, right? And they're trading under this whole big volume node right here, so they're gonna have to push it overnight through this area, right? Not as many traders, not as much resistance. So that's why they move it overnight. They always push it up, right? It's really easy. This was a, you know, they weren't able to make it through this node yesterday at all, and after hours they just basically blew through it, no problem. Look how big the bars are, how long it was. Um, and if we go back and you look at the delta, there's barely any delta here. Look, they when you look at this delta right here where they pushed everything through, they barely bought anything. It didn't take anything to move the market after hours. Plunge protection team always works after hours. But um, if you run into questions, just put them in the comments, I guess.